Hi everyone and welcome to English Digest. I'm Pat.
And I'm Kat.
And we're on our Newswatch article for this month. We've got a couple of stories. The first one involves sharing an area with wild animals. I believe you've got a bit more experience of this than me.
Do I?
I thought you said where you live in the US or where you're from, there's a few more wild animals walking around.
Yeah, I suppose so. Okay, yeah. Yes, I do remember. It's such a normal part of growing up for me that I didn't even think about it. But yes, in my yard, I recall a couple of times driving home at night and seeing a herd of deer.
Wow.
Yeah. Or there would be coyotes nearby, badgers, things like rattlesnakes. Yeah, lots of stuff. I lived in an area where we had a lot of wildlife nearby.
Yeah. So how do you kind of live with that going on?
Just don't bother them, and hopefully they don't bother you.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Most I ever got is foxes. So.
Oh, I mean, foxes, they're small, they're cute, but they can steal your chickens, apparently.
Yeah. Well, our cat's just scared at them and yelled at them.
Ooh, well, if the cats can defend you from them, then that's a good thing.
Right, but we've got a very different kind of animal in our first Newswatch story.
Yeah.
So let's read through these two stories and find out what's going on.
Sea lions are coming back to New Zealand whether humans like it or not. The return of New Zealand's endangered sea lions is great news for animal activists, but residents may have a different impression. The animals have been showing up in abnormal places, including public toilets and at a children's soccer match. One entertained itself in a community swimming pool. Motorists were not amused when another shut down an urban road for weeks. One even gave birth near a golf course. Why these sea lions, which are estimated to be about 10,000 in number, are returning to New Zealand from their sub-Antarctic island habitat after being absent for 200 years is something of a mystery. With many of the sea lions' former breeding grounds now occupied by humans, scientists say that New Zealanders will have to be tolerant and share. According to Veronica Franz, an ecologist, the return of sea lions doesn't mean humans must give up large districts of the coast. People are allowed to be integrated in those places, she said. It's more that we find a balance.
Diaper recycling plant provides new source of fuel. In rapidly aging Japan, more diapers are being used by incontinent elders than by babies. The Ministry of the Environment says waste from adult diapers has seen a 13% increase to almost 1.5 million tons annually over the last 5 years. The town of Hoki has become a pioneer in trying to reduce this waste. Diapers represent about 1/10 of the town's trash. The authorities converted one of the town's incinerators into a diaper recycling plant. This plant manufactures an alternative fuel for the public bathhouse from used diapers. Diapers are a growing problem in Japan. Unlike with other products, such as single-use plastics, the use of diapers cannot be moderated without compromising sanitation and healthcare. With its special recycling plant, though, Hoki has diverted garbage that would otherwise be dumped in incinerators and add emissions to the atmosphere. Administrators in some other regions are also turning the diapers into fuel, while others are experimenting with modifying them into material that can be blended with cement for construction or road paving. Okay, so that's a few interesting stories out there going on in the world.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, sea lions coming back to New Zealand, that is quite a change.
Yeah, for a lot of people.
Yeah. So we're looking at basically, it's a very different wild animal than the ones that I might have been used to back in my hometown. They are not land animals. They're well, kind of. They're sea animals, but they can come on land and they can cause problems on land because they're very, very big.
Like a lot of other animals like that, they'll come on land to have babies, to breed, to look after the young ones until they're all old enough to head back into the sea.
Yeah, exactly. And so we're going to look at some of the things that have been happening since they've been coming back to New Zealand. So from the title, we get this sort of idea of what people think of it. Sea lions are coming back to New Zealand, whether humans like it or not. So when we say whether somebody likes it or not, it's kind of, you don't have a choice in the matter. You have to accept it. You don't have to like it. Maybe you don't like it, but it's happening and you have to live with it.
So it starts by saying the return of New Zealand's endangered sea lions is great news for animal activists, but residents may have a different impression. So we've also mentioned here that these are endangered sea lions. Their numbers are low. They're struggling to survive in climate change, human behavior, all of that normal kind of stuff. So that the fact that they're coming back is great news for animal activists. You can have many different kinds of activists. It's a description of a person, and it's what they do. They are active. They take action. They have a particular cause, and they do things to raise awareness of that cause, inform others about that cause, raise money, try to get laws changed, try to get new things to happen in order that their cause gets met, in that their cause gets sort of furthered. You could be an animal activist and try and help animals. You could be an anti-nuclear activist and try and get nuclear power stations stopped. You could be an activist for a government party or something like that, or a party of people who are not represented in government. You might be an activist for, like, indigenous people's rights so that they get more things and a fair treatment. So you can have many kinds of activists.
Yeah, I think of women's activists as well. And we're talking about two different groups of people. So animal activists are those who, really want to safeguard animals and make sure that they have places to live, that they're not in danger, that sort of thing. But residents may have a different impression. So this is sort of an opposing group. A resident of a place is somebody who lives there. So Pat and I are residents of Taiwan. We may not be citizens here, but we do live here and we've lived here for a while. So that makes us residents. We reside in the country, to put it in the verb form. So New Zealand's residents are the people who live there and probably have lived there a long time, if not their whole lives. And they may have a different impression, which means they may think something different.
They're like, what are these sea lions doing here? Get them out. I don't want them in my swimming pool.
Yeah.
Because we see the animals have been showing up in abnormal places, including public toilets and at a children's soccer match.
That is pretty abnormal.
Yeah, they're not just hanging around where you'd normally see sea lions on little islands, on the beach, on the coast. They're turning up in public toilets, in abnormal places.
I wonder why one would want to go into a public toilet.
The same reason as everybody, one would assume.
Does it know how to use one?
Well, it'll find out. But yeah, maybe just because it's wet, there could be food there, who knows.
Maybe so.
But it's certainly...
any reason, it's abnormal.
Yeah, it's certainly abnormal. Abnormal is just the opposite of normal. The AB prefix is one that's not super common, but it does, like other prefixes of dis and un and im, it turns something into a negative. So disorganized and organized, you've got possible, impossible, and this one is normal, abnormal. So it's not normal, it's unusual, it's strange, it's not what you would ordinarily expect.
Exactly. I always think of the movie Young Frankenstein, where somebody gets a brain that is labeled abnormal because he thinks it says Abby normal. But yeah, abnormal means that it's kind of off from normal. It's not where you would expect, like Pat said. And so they're in public toilets, they're at kids' soccer games, very strange places, and one entertained itself in a community swimming pool. that seems like a place where a seal might want to go, or sea lion. So if you're entertaining yourself or somebody is entertaining you, it's basically they're helping you to enjoy yourself. You're having fun. If you are entertaining yourself, you're making your own fun. But if somebody else is entertaining you, that means they're doing something to amuse you. Like, for example, putting on a play, or maybe they're doing a funny dance for you to make you laugh, or singing a song. Those are all forms of entertainment, which is the noun form of the verb entertain. So if you're a sea lion, I think you would be very happy to go around, swim around in a swimming pool and just have fun.
But it's not always fun for the people who want to swim in there. And here's another example. Motorists were not amused when another sea lion, shut down an urban road for weeks.
Wow.
A motorist is just somebody who is driving a car, someone who is using a car on that particular road. It's an urban road, so it's in a town or a city, and just sea lions are shutting it down. They're living there, they're not moving, maybe they've damaged it. It's shut down for weeks because of this sea lion, and they can't drive on it.
Yeah, I wonder what the sea lion did to shut down an urban road for weeks. You would think that it would just kind of walk across the road and move on, but maybe you're right, it damaged something big. And that's not all. One even gave birth near a golf course. Imagine you're out golfing and suddenly you see a mama sea lion and a little baby sea lion.
You're not gonna make par on that one, really.
No. So, yeah, that's some very strange things that have been happening, and they're not really sure why. We have this very long sentence to follow that's it's an inversion, isn't it? So we're going to go through the sentence and we'll have to talk about what it means. Why these sea lions, which are estimated to be about 10,000 in number, are returning to New Zealand from their sub-Antarctic island habitat after being absent for 200 years is something of a mystery. So yes, we have a big inversion there. You can kind of cut out all the middle part and just say why these sea lions are returning is something of a mystery, which means basically they don't really know why.
Yep, but we've also added some details. We've got this little non-defining clause here, starting with which, and this is just saying they think there are about 10,000 of these sea lions. It's estimated, it's a guess. And we've also got another kind of insert. They're returning to New Zealand from their sub-Antarctic island habitat after being absent for 200 years. So that tells us they've been away from New Zealand. It's been 200 years since sea lions have been there in large numbers, and they've been off on this sub-Antarctic island. If something is sub-Antarctic, it's just outside the Arctic Circle. So it's a cold island. It's fairly close to the South Pole. It's not in there. It's not in the kind of line on the map. It's just outside of it, but that's where they've been living, on this sub-Antarctic island. It's their habitat.
Yeah, sub-Antarctic is not a word that you'll hear very often. Maybe sub-Arctic, because I think there's more land near the Arctic Circle.
Yes.
Or you might hear subtropical. Taiwan is actually a subtropical island, which means it's just outside of the tropical region, which is close to the middle line of the Earth.
Yeah, although if you go far enough south, you cross the line.
That's true. In Kaohsiung and Pingtung, I think it's tropical.
Yeah, there's a marker on the east coast that I've often driven past and gone, yep, there it is. We've gone into the
you're
past
in the
tropics.
tropics.
Yeah.
Ooh, very cool. So anyway, they used to be on this sub-Antarctic island habitat. You imagine it's probably pretty cold. Maybe there weren't many humans there, but now they're coming back, and there's probably a reason why, but they haven't figured it out yet. But still, it's a problem they have to solve. With many of the sea lions' former breeding grounds now occupied by humans, scientists say that New Zealanders will have to be tolerant and share. Of course, you can't tell them to just go back home, can you?
Nope. So here we have the phrase breeding grounds, and we've sort of mentioned that the reason sea lions stay a long time on land is to have babies, to raise young ones, and so on. And for that, you need a breeding ground. A breeding ground is an area where the males and females will pair up. They will breed. In other words, they'll do the stuff that makes children. They will then have the children. They'll kind of lie around for a few weeks while the children get bigger. And then when the children are old enough, it's back into the water and the whole thing begins again. And you'll often find animals, particularly these kind, returning to the same areas year after year or generation after generation to do the same thing. It's obviously a good, safe area with food access. The weather's not too bad. There's enough space, and it's the right kind of area for having children.
That's right. It's kind of like, people return to a summer home over and over because they like the area. They basically do the same thing, only to have babies. But they're now in New Zealand, and there's more people in New Zealand, probably a lot more people. So New Zealanders will have to be tolerant. When you are tolerant of something, or when you tolerate it, that means you're basically saying, okay, well, I can't change this, so I guess I will have to put up with it. I will have to accept it and be patient and just not make a fuss, not get annoyed, and sort of, just let it be. Yeah.
And the scientists agree. According to Veronica Franz, an ecologist, the return of sea lions doesn't mean humans must give up large districts of the coast.
That's
so
good.
Humans don't need to move away. It's not like, okay, the sea lions are here, we've all got to move off their areas. No, we have to live with them. We have to get on together. And this is from an ecologist, which is a scientist who studies the natural relationships between air, land, water, animals, plants, and so on.
So they study sort of natural environments and how they might change or how different factors may affect them. Right. So she would know. She would know that, the coast is an ecology and environment that, would be affected by the return of sea lions or would be affected by the removal of humans. And she says that humans don't have to leave. She says people are allowed to be integrated in those places, she said. So to be integrated in a place means to kind of find yourself meshed in. It's like you are part of the place. Yeah.
Yeah, you're there, you're living there, it's part of you, you're part of it. And so she finishes, it's more that we find a balance. So we'll have to change a few things. We'll have to be aware that there are sea lions there, but we can't kick them out and we can't kick ourselves out. People are allowed to share this space. It belongs to us as well as the animals. We just need to find a way of living together. So that is the end of our first story. We're going to take a short break now and then come back with our second one. Welcome back, everyone. We're on our second Newswatch story here. Diaper recycling plant provides new source of fuel.
Diapers, eh?
Diapers, something I have a great deal of experience of over the last few years because a diaper, in the UK we call it a nappy,
right.
N-A-P-P-Y, but it's what babies wear before they are toilet trained. It's where they poop, it's where they pee. You have to change them every few hours, and they're usually pretty waterproof until they get super full, but it's those things.
Yeah, is your baby toilet trained now?
Partially. He's getting better.
He's getting there.
But then the new one is just starting, so it'll be years before.
That's true. Okay. You're going to have to deal with diapers for a little while. And some people have to deal with diapers when they're really old, too.
Well, I figure by the time the second one is out of them, I'm going to be getting into them, so it'll be a constant. And that's kind of what the problem is here, because in rapidly aging Japan, more diapers are being used by incontinent elders than by babies.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, there are adult diapers, adult nappies. You can find them in stores, and they're intended mostly for older people, but it could also be for younger adults who maybe have problems, health problems, that kind of thing.
Like maybe they're paralyzed or they just,
they've had an organ removed, that sort of thing. If you're incontinent, you don't have any control over your bladder, the part of you that controls when you pee, that kind of thing.
Yeah, or when you poop.
Yeah, so you'll just start peeing and you're like, oh, it's happening. I didn't know it was coming.
Yeah.
It couldn't. It's just
You can't hold it.
Yeah. My dad was worried about this. He had an operation. They removed part of his prostate, and he wasn't sure if he could control it for the first few months while he was getting used to it. He figured it out. He never needed diapers.
That's good. That's good.
So
he didn't become incontinent.
No.
All right. Well, that's good. But in Japan, the population is rapidly aging. Just like in Taiwan, there are now more old people than there are kids, like really young kids. So most of the diapers are being used by elders. And that means people who, they're not going to be re-toilet trained. That's just part of the aging process. And so they're going to be using those for a long time. And so the Ministry of the Environment says waste from adult diapers has seen a 13% increase to almost 1.5 million tons annually over the last 5 years. That is a lot. A 13% increase is a pretty big increase when you're talking about buying a product or using a product.
Okay, so and of course, if they're using all those diapers, then their diapers are going to be waste. You can get cloth ones that can be washed and reused, but a lot of people will find it more convenient to get disposable ones that you just throw away, but that creates waste.
Yes, it does.
So how do we deal with this problem? Well, we see the town of Hoki has become a pioneer in trying to reduce this waste. A pioneer is somebody who does something first. They could go into a new area and try and sort of turn this wild country into land where they can live, or you can be sort of pushing back a more abstract frontier. We've got a problem, we're doing new things, we're entering new ground in order to deal with it.
That's right. So when we talk about pioneers, it's often the first person to invent a certain thing or to come up with a certain solution. So they're becoming pioneers in trying to reduce this waste. Diapers represent about 1/10 of the town's trash.
That's huge.
Yeah, 10%. So it's quite a big problem, and if in an entire town, you need to do something with it.
Right.
So what are they doing?
Well, the authorities converted one of the town's incinerators into a diaper recycling plant. So the authorities did it. This is the local government, the leaders, it's not a scientist or some individuals. This is more of an official thing. And they converted or changed one of the town's incinerators.
Right.
An incinerator is a great big place for burning things.
Right,
Could
exactly.
be 2 or 3 large furnaces, could be a big sort of factory with a lot of rooms that are very hot and filled with fire, and you just toss stuff in and it burns.
Yeah, so to incinerate something usually means to burn it down to ash or to burn it down to some other kind of just black, its most basic form that fire can reduce it to. So you might incinerate trash. I mean, I think Taipei incinerates a lot of its trash. You might incinerate bodies after they are dead, and you're going to, turn them to ash.
Right. Obviously, we use the word cremate there
cremate.
For a person. But you incinerate trash, stuff you don't need anymore, that sort of stuff.
So they turned one of the town's incinerators into a diaper recycling plant. So they're not using it to burn stuff anymore. This plant manufactures an alternative fuel for the public bathhouse from used diapers. Very interesting.
So they've got, like a lot of places in Japan, they'll have, what are they called? Sentos, onsens, whichever one it is. To where they've got people can go there to take a bath. They'll want hot water, so they'll figure a way to make fuel. They burn it to heat the water, and this fuel is made from diapers.
Yeah.
And diapers, then here we go back to the main idea of this article, the main problem. Diapers are a growing problem in Japan. So in this paragraph, we're going to kind of talk about why they are such a big problem.
Yeah. So it says, unlike with other products, such as single-use plastics, the use of diapers cannot be moderated without compromising sanitation and healthcare. That's true, because if you have older people who are incontinent, you can't just tell them, well, stop using diapers. You can't do it. So you cannot moderate the use of diapers. To moderate something would be to kind of control it or kind of ring it back in. Single-use plastics, you can do that because you can find substitutes. You can encourage people to not buy plastic bags by bringing their own bag or going to a wet market for their vegetables instead of buying them in plastic at the grocery store, something like that. But you can't do the same thing with diapers without compromising sanitation.
Yeah, now you can, of course, use cloth diapers, but not everybody can wash them and clean them and hang them up, especially the elderly. And it would cause a problem for sanitation. Sanitation is all about cleanliness and public cleanliness, okay? So if you say, well, if you can't use a diaper, well, then where are they going to go? If they can't get to the bathroom on time, they are incontinent, they can't control it, so it will mean that human waste ends up on the floor, on clothes, on furniture. That's a sanitation issue. It's an issue of germs, of healthcare, of keeping things clean in the public, in public and private spaces.
Yeah.
That's what sanitation all is. It's dealing with waste, it's keeping areas clean, it's getting clean water, clean pipes, processing people's sewage, all of that sort of stuff.
Right, exactly. And sanitation is not just about cleanliness because it's not just about, ew, that's gross. It's about people's health because poor sanitation can bring disease. And in the elderly, that's a big problem because they are more vulnerable to disease. They have worse immune systems, things like that. But they are trying to solve this problem in Hoki. So with its special recycling plant, though, Hoki has diverted garbage that would otherwise be dumped in incinerators and add emissions to the atmosphere. So what their new recycling plant has done is divert things. When you divert something, you sort of change its path. So like, for example, if you're driving on a road and the road has construction in front of you, you might be diverted down a different road. But to divert garbage or divert waste means to change it so that it's no longer being burned and it's no longer being thought of as garbage. It's diverted so that it can be recycled. That's why we say otherwise it would be dumped into incinerators.
And we certainly don't want to add emissions to the atmosphere because that affects the atmosphere, affects climate change, and so on. Emissions are the things that would go up into the air when the trash is burned.
Yes.
So we see now another solution to the problem. Administrators in some other regions are also turning the diapers into fuel, while others are experimenting with modifying them into material that can be blended with cement for construction or road paving. So some groups are going, okay, Hoki's got a recycling plant, we'll copy their idea, we'll ask them to help us. Everyone benefits. And it's the administrators doing this. Administrators are people who organize, who run, who administrate and manage a particular thing. A company could have administrators who take care of it and make sure it's being run properly. An area will have administrators. It basically means the local government, the people in charge of making decisions, spending the money, getting things done.
Exactly. And so the administrators would like to try and solve their own problem with this because it's not just Hoki that has this problem. So they're experimenting with turning them into fuel, and they're doing something else. They're modifying them into material that can be blended with cement for construction or road paving. Now, if you know about road paving, you know that it's made with cement, which is this kind of pourable, almost stone kind of material that hardens up into a path, like a sidewalk or a road. And so they're modifying the diapers so that they can be mixed together with cement. And that sounds like a really interesting solution too. So that could be another way that it can help Japan.
Yeah, it's a great way to kind of use something that's waste and turn it to a good purpose. Well, that is all the time we have for today. We've covered a couple of interesting news stories. I hope you enjoyed listening to them. Thank you for joining us for English Digest. I'm Pat.
And I'm Kat.
And we'll talk to you again next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.